Okay, we are ready to start the Conservation Commission meeting of May 9th, 2024, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Sue, roll call?
Sure. Ellen Snyder.
Here.
Liz Sharples.
Here.
David Bell. Jeff Goldnoff.
Present.
Tom Jones.
Here.
Colin Lawson.
Here.
Julianne Tyson.
Here.
Okay. So Chris and
Chris,
and
Jeff, I know
Jessica
couldn't
and
be
Brian
here.
are absent.
And Brian. So since Chris isn't here, and Colin, I'll appoint you as a voting member tonight.
Okay,
then.
great.
Just one thing on the membership, we'll talk a little bit later, but I had a Heron Point Newmarket Care Day with the high school students. And one of the young women, I think she must have been like the chair of the committee, but she wondered if a high school student can be an alternate on the Conservation Commission. And I said, well, I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
So do you think we have an opening, but we could also always eventually create another alternate? You can have like I don't think it matters. So if that's a good idea, I'll let them know if they want to pursue that. Yeah, sound good?
Sounds good. We can do that.
They did a beautiful
What's that?
job.
We can do that.
Have alternates?
No, people under 18 or something.
Oh, I don't know. They're an alternate.
It's fine by me. I don't mind. I'm just curious.
Well, someone
I know
tells
that
us-
there's a.
someone tells us.
I know there's a rep on the school. Isn't there a liaison or something for
I
the
think
school
it
board?
can.
We
Because-
can't, they're obviously more than welcome to join us.
I think you can, because I know in Durham they had a high school student that was a rep to the planning board or one of the boards.
I think there's one for the school board.
Yeah.
I think there's. Excellent.
So, yeah, very good. I'll let you know. Any public comment? No, Dwayne will be here. Okay, awesome. So we can jump right into our land conservation project discussion with Dwayne Hyde, who's here from the Southeast Land Trust. Great, Dwayne, if you want to, do you want to bring that, it's kind of your way out there. You
Just
wanna-
come right up
Come
front,
right
Ray.
up. Sorry, I should have brought it up behind
Heels
that. I think so. I don't know why it's way back there. Oh, that's very good. All right, and so you should have gotten in your packet a memo, nice memo from Dwayne.
Everybody, good to see you.
It's like old home days here.
Yeah.
I'm going to move the microphone. Hopefully the TV people don't freak out here. Just so I have a little bit of room. Great. Well, thank you all. My name is Dwayne Hyde. I'm the Land Conservation Director for Southeast Land Trust, for those of you that don't know me. So I'm here to discuss with you and introduce to you all a relatively new conservation project that's been in the making for a long, long, long time. Talk more about that. So introduce you to the Mitchell project. Then hopefully get your approval for the chair to draft a letter of support, and then also start the discussion about a funding request from the town for the project. So I passed around, you all, I think in your packet got the memo that gives all the details that I summarized for you, and happy to answer any questions about that. But for your benefit, I figured I'd go over some of the information that was in that memo. So this, the Mitchell property is located on Bald Hill, along Bald Hill Road, on either side of Bald Hill Road. Encompasses a little over 130 acres. Includes and has Hilton Brook running through it on one side, and on the other side Bald Hill. The property extends all the way from Bald Hill Road to Jacobs Well Road, and includes a 1.3 acre portion in Epping, but the rest of the property is in Newmarket. So this property has been the subject of discussions within the land conservation community, not just Southeast Land Trust, but the Great Bay Partnership and its members and the town. Many people have had many meetings with the Mitchells over time, and the family always was interested in talking about conservation, but just wasn't ready to make that decision at that point in time. And the family has deep roots with this property, and it definitely shows when you meet with them. There's a true love of the land. And that comes from reportedly from talking to the family. This has been in the same family since the King's Grant. So the original King's Grant went to this family, and it's extended into the multi-generations to this generation that we're working with right now. The generation we're working with right now is 5 siblings. All 4 of those siblings live right abutting and around this property, with 1 sibling away. And I think what happened, and I don't want to speak completely for the family, but from my discussions with them, I think the family saw that the next generation, it was going to be too many. As people know, numbers compound, and the compounding of ownership interest was going to get very complicated. So in discussing what the options were for the family and meeting with me, the family decided that the best approach for their land would be to conserve it. And not just through a conservation easement, but to actually sell the property outright for conservation. So the proposed project is outright ownership of the property, not an easement. I'd like to just go over some of the conservation values. I also welcome you all sharing any information you may know about this property. If you've been on it or you just know about resources in the area, because it's always helpful to get local knowledge and local understanding, because I've been on the property a number of times, but obviously haven't been on it probably as much as some of you. So as I mentioned, the property has Hilton Brook flowing through it, a little over almost 1,100 feet of Hilton Brook flowing through it, then about another 2,000 feet of direct tributaries to the Lamprey River. Lamprey River, the wild and scenic portion of Lamprey River, is only about 1,800 feet away from the property. There's an oxbow that goes pretty close to Jacobs Well Road. It's about 23 acres of wetlands on the property, and some of those wetlands and the uplands around it, as you may recall, the Nature Conservancy did a study looking at areas important for the water quality of Great Bay and that provide high-value pollutant attenuation for Great Bay. There's about 40 acres of pollutant attenuation provided on this property. In addition, it's an important drinking water supply property in that there's about 70 and a half acres of high priority water supply lands and hydrologic areas of concern that the Department of Environmental Services has identified. That's because of the Lamprey River, which is, as you know, a water source for Durham and UNH. There is also a 10-acre mapped high transmissivity aquifer on the property. But what's really also an amazing selling is when you look at that map I provided that has the purple and green, kind of the regional context map. There's 5,000 acres of contiguous, including across roads, but 5,000 acres of conserved land that this property connects to, including the town-held Hilton Conservation Easement, which is 104 acres. The New Hampshire Fish and Game's Hayden Tract, which is about 64 acres, and then Selt's Bald Hill Forest, which is about 146 acres that we own. So, but you look at the map and you can just see how all these lands connect together. And one of the things that was really attractive for Selt about this property is it's within our Pawtuckaway to Great Bay corridor, our effort to connect Pawtuckaway State Park to the Great Bay. This property is one of these pieces that is part of that overall connection. It also provides a nice connection between our Burley Farms, where our offices are, to the Piscassic Greenway. So that's important from our perspective and from a regional perspective. The property is also within a high priority within the Coastal Conservation Plan, 116 acres within a focus area of the conservation plan. It's the climate resilient landscapes. This property actually ranked really well for the seacoast. There isn't a lot of topographic diversity in our region necessarily, but with Bald Hill being there and the lowlands, it has a lot of micro topography, which is a driver on climate resilience. So there's about 8 acres of far above average climate resilient land and 79 acres of above average climate resilient.
Dwayne, what is that source of that? Where is that from?
That one is from the Nature
It's
Conservancy
also
also.
in the coastal plan as well?
It's integrated into the coastal plan as a component, yep. But it's that, the coastal plan, as you may know, is like an amalgamation of several plans that, and data from those, so that the Resilient and Connected Networks plan is fed into the coastal
But
conservation.
you can also go directly to the TNC's resiliency mapping
Yeah,
program and get that information directly.
Wildlife Action Plan also showed really high value of this property, 66 acres of highest ranked habitat in the state, and 60 acres of highest ranked habitat in the biological region. So talking 126 acres of 132 acres, that's really highly ranked habitat. That's very telling. And then when you look at the NHB report for the property, the Natural Heritage Bureau report, along Hilton Brook, there's that whole wetland system that along Hilton Brook is a exemplary community wetland system, a low gradient, silty, sandy riverbank system. It's a S3, a rare or uncommon wetland system that has several rare species embedded within it, including giant burr reed, climbing hempweed, golden winged warbler, and northern harrier, known occurrences in that area. In addition, there are 2 occurrences of rare reptiles that occur on the property. So Blanding's turtle and spotted turtle, state threatened and state endangered. So the plan for the property is to include a parking area off of Jacobswell Road, small parking area with a loop trail that goes up onto Bald Hill, and then a spur connector that takes you to Hayden Place, where we have a parking area and a kiosk already. So build that network. So the conservation project structure, early on in this project, trying to figure out how to put it together, I went out with Fish and Game staff and biologists to walk the property, given its high wildlife values and also the adjoining the Fish and Game Hayden property. So Fish and Game was duly impressed with the quality of the habitat on the property and the benefits it provides, and agreed to work with us on this property. So the project structure is for Fish and Game to own the 61 acres on the Hilton Brook side of the property, which will connect with and be building off of their Hayden tract. And then SELT will purchase the 71 acres on the Bald Hill side of the property, which will be added to our existing Bald Hill Preserve. And then we will sell, as part of the project, a conservation easement over that land to Fish and Game. So Fish and Game will hold an easement on that portion of the property. So the way the structure of Fish and Game projects, they pay 75% of the value. So we'll have to make up the 25% of their acquisitions through fundraising. So purchase and sales agreements have been signed by all the parties. We have a purchase and sale agreement between Fish and Game and the Mitchells, a purchase and sale agreement between Mitchells and the Southeast Land Trust, and a purchase and sale agreement between Southeast Land Trust and New Hampshire Fish and Game. So it's a fun project to structure. The purchase price for the SELT portion, the 71 acres, is $1,420,000, and New Hampshire Fish and Game purchase price is $490,000 for their acquisition. So As you can see on the map, on the aerial map, there are several boundary line adjustments that are going to need to be made. Once again, the family is giving up this land that has been in their family for a long, long time. And they obviously, hadn't been thinking about that for heavily until recently, and realized there were some areas that were important to their existing homesteads that they wanted to keep, or that were valuable to them for other reasons. So over on the Bald Hill side, there's two boundary line adjustment areas that are shown in black hatch. They're both about 2.6 acres, 2.6, 2.7 acres. One is next to the wood shop. That will be, there's a shed there, and the wood shop's there, so it just makes sense. The other is over near the cemetery. If you're familiar with that section of Bald Hill Road, there's a really, really nice old cemetery there. It's over in that area that the family is going to keep. And then on the other side of the road, the Hilton Brook side of the road, there's a 1.1 acre addition to one of the houses that's out there. It's on a small, very small lot, and they've been kind of treating the rest of the property as their own. So to encompass their existing improvements, increasing that lot by another acre. And then where Alan Mitchell lives, where the original homestead is located, reconfiguring that lot. Right now that lot goes all the way back basically into that Hilton Brook wetland system, so we're pulling that lot back to capture more of those high value wetlands, and adding land along the side where it's pretty much been treated as part of the homestead. So that will create a slightly over 14 acre area that will stay with the homestead. So those are the lot line reconfigurations that will happen. Included in your packet is an overall budget for the project. The overall budget for the project is roughly $2.2 million. I'm rounding here for ease. And that includes all the project costs. That includes all the purchase prices and all the project costs. Our project management costs are one-time contributions to our land management fund for our permanent management of the property, the easement stewardship fund for the Fish and Game Department, and also some capital costs, the cost for the parking area, building those trails, installing some gates, putting up the kiosks, all of that. That's all in this overall budget, in addition to all those due diligence costs, survey costs and such. On the revenue side, New Hampshire Fish and Game is the critical funder here, and the major funder and the driver on the funding side. So their funding is $1,384,373. So we're talking more than half of the funding coming from New Hampshire Fish and Game. The other funding sources that we're pursuing, we will be submitting an application to the Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund because it is in that hydrologic area of concern and in a high value drinking water area. I've already been in contact with the town of Durham, and they're prepared to write a letter of support for that application. It's critical. We'll also be, so that will be an application for around $245,000. That's a rough number, so we'll figure it out as we prepare our grant budgets, but roughly right now it's looking in that area. LCHIP is another one application we'll be submitting this year, another $245,000 application. The Moose Plate program, $30,000, should compete well. And then the Lamprey River Advisory Committee, I'll be meeting with them in a week or two and making a request for $100,000 from Lamprey River Advisory Committee. That leaves $100,000 left. That's why I'm here. So the request, respectfully request from the town of Newmarket is a contribution to the project of $100,000. so that it can kind of round out our fundraising. There are some private funds being raised in that budget too that we will do a community mailing for not only Newmarket but Newfields, because it's right there next door, and maybe some of Epping too, and raise some money through that and pursue some private donors also. So I don't want to belittle the hard work that we'll be putting in on doing private fundraising also. The question for you all as we talk about town funding is town's legal interest in whether you want to have a legal interest in the property. I can facilitate that as I've done in the past in Newmarket on other projects, and we can structure it in a way that I think can work for the town and work for us. Usually what we do with the town is an executory interest, meaning if in the fee deed, that's one way of structuring it, whereby if we fail to exist, we being the Southeast Land Trust fail to exist, the town can take ownership of the property. Or we could put it in the conservation easement where if the easement that Fish and Game holds, that if the town, Fish and Game fails to relinquishes its control of the easement, the town can take the easement. So either structure works. You could possibly even do a third-party right of enforcement at the easement if you wanted that responsibility, but that's your call. Whew. So that's a quick overview. Not so quick, but the overview at least.
What's the timing like with that?
So we have a date to close by the end of next year, end of 2025. So we'll be working on all those grants this season. By the time you get the grants awarded midway through next year, then not midway, I should say first quarter of next year, and you got to submit all the paperwork and get all the approvals. And so we hopefully will close sooner, but I'd just like to give myself a little buffer. I'd like to shoot for closing by mid-year next year, a year from now. Maybe a little later than that.
Any NRCS?
No. Otherwise,
just wondering.
Otherwise, it would be a lot longer. Actually, the funding program that Colin's referencing, we pretty much have used all of
that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know a lot about this property, but others want to. I can speak. Yeah, why don't people offer their thoughts?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, has the town spent that kind of money in these conservation projects?
Yeah, so the
In the
last
past?
two, Gaziano for Selt and the Clark was also Selt, we gave $75,000 each to those. Those are the last couple. I mean, I can speak to the funding. So we passed a land acquisition bond in 2002, and that was for $2 million, and we did conserve some properties. Actually, the Hilton easement was part of that. Open space bond, kind of what it's called. And so that's a long time ago, but there's still 87, the last I checked in March, there was 87,000 and change in that. And I asked, I spoke with Bart and the town manager and the finance director, and suggested, because I knew Dwayne was coming with this proposal, if we could tap that money, because it's been since 2002. And they seemed to think it would be okay to do that. So that's $87,000. We basically, whatever the change, we just close out that bond fund. So we would have to obviously endorse the project here and make if we take an interest anyway, well, I think if we spend conservation funds, we need a public hearing anyway here and then at the town council. So it just makes it easier to, do it all at the same time. And so we would request that fund, and then if we want to honor his Dwayne's request, we would need to take $12,500 from the conservation fund. So that would be one way to structure this contribution if that's what the commission is.
Yeah, and just on the timing side of things, maybe I should have mentioned this, Colin, to your question, is what's really helpful for us from a project management point of view and the grant funding from both drinking water and LCHIP is they love to see those kind of commitments from a town, the community, a host community. So if we we have that before their decisions are made, we can say, and the town of Newmarket has endorsed and committed funding to the project, so.
Huge piece.
Yeah, so that, and, you know, that would be ideal to have by the end of summer, ideally. So.
It's an awesome project, awesome properties that connect a whole bunch of other awesome properties. Anyway, I would fully support this if you can.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. David?
I do support it. We were involved in the Bald Hill Preserve. I know it's also been, looked like it was cut like a year ago, maybe?
Yep, yeah, the family worked with Charlie Marino to they had a forest management plan. Charlie, as you know, very well-respected forester, and he did a really nice job on the property. There is just left very mature trees behind, good quality trees behind. So it had been cut, yes, but it's in very good condition.
Did they also do work on the east side?
They did when the Hiltons were cutting
That was also
where the
all
town
last
holds
year.
the easement.
Yeah, that was all.
There's a portion of this property that's inaccessible other than through the Hilton property, so they, Charlie, once again, managed that timber harvest too.
Would SELT look to continue to maintain the field portion on the east side as a field?
Well, the east side is going to be owned by Fish and Game.
Oh,
The yellow on the
yeah.
map. But I've talked to Fish and Game, and they want that grassland bird habitat. So yeah,
So they'll know.
that's their intent. You know. Obviously, they can't commit forever because
Right.
things change, but their intent
Yeah.
is to manage that.
I think it's a great project. Great idea.
It's a great project.
I like the idea of a trail
Yeah.
up Bald
And
Yeah,
Hill.
that's
we're happy to host a walk for folks that haven't been out there. I'd be happy
Yeah,
to
I'd love
take you out and show you around. Welcome the opportunity.
Yeah, I haven't been on it. I'd love to go out and
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
a fantastic. I'm sort of a neighbor and friend of the family, so.
Yeah, yeah, Ellen could do it, and if I'd love to make it, I can.
Yeah, I went through we have this draft checklist we've now created, this land acquisition, so I went through that with all your information and basically checked all the boxes, you know, all the positives, and there was even some more stuff that we might want to talk about later in terms of updates to our checklist. And then I made a bunch of notes, so it sort of fit everything that we came up with for our checklist. There were a few more things that you might benefit from, so I can send you
Oh,
those
great.
notes. Like, we have prime wetlands, and that's
Yeah.
part of the prime wetlands, so that might be useful to.
Does this property have prime wetlands?
Yeah,
on it?
that, the Hilton Brook piece is part of the prime wetlands.
I wonder if that's not in our system.
Yeah.
We could pick up that. Thank you.
And then there's two other minor, other things, but you've got so much that, but so
Yeah,
you can
it
provide
kind of-
more.
It kind of rings a lot of bells.
Or even try ARM.
Yeah. Actually, it's worth mentioning this for what it's worth. So ARM, as you know, is a mitigation program, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service across the board, all funding programs that they administer do not allow, they will not participate in any properties where mitigation is funding it in any way. So we can't get around. Yeah, it's part of that. It actually dates back to George Bush, the original George Bush. I always get their initials confused, but the no net loss of wetlands statement.
Oh, yeah.
And because mitigation involves the loss of wetlands, Fish and Wildlife instituted
Oh,
this
because-
policy of not being involved in any mitigation, and it's held since then.
Will SELT plan to build trails on the property?
Yep, our plan is to have a small parking area, maybe 3 to 5 cars off of Jacobs Well Road. When you go out there, if you do go out there, there is a skidder trail network in there. There's our trails manager has already been out and kind of just scouted. Up the hill, we'll have to do some switchbacks because it's pretty steep, Bald Hill. and do a loop on the hill and then a spur trail that goes over to Hayden Place, the road, Hayden, the cul-de-sac, where we have a kiosk at the end of that road.
So Bald Hill's the highest point in Newmarket, so you should put that in there.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Is it just gonna
It's,
be,
what's really neat is if you go out to Burley Farms and walk the trails there, if you go to the back of Burley Farms, there's another hill very much like Bald Hill. We call it Potato
Potato
Hill
Hill, yeah.
because that's what the family called it. I don't know if that's the official name, but Potato Hill. You're up on Potato Hill and you look out and you see Bald Hill right up, right. It's like right there, and Bald Hill the same thing. You look and there's Potato
Yeah.
Hill.
It's not so bald, but
Yeah, sister hills right next to each other.
Okay, so maybe if people are to the site walk. So because of timing, so there's, I think, a couple steps, and we can decide what you all want to do tonight or if you want to wait. I think a letter of support would be one thing. The second thing would be if we want to contribute money and how much, and from what sources. And that would be, we can do that tonight, or if we have to have a public hearing in June, so it's up to, the group, when and if you want to do that. And then, I think once we could talk, I don't know, I'm not quite sure of the process, but once we do that, then we would go to the council, and they have to have 2 readings of a resolution, so that would probably be June, July, or July, August, when that process would happen.
That would work.
They need once in July, yeah, so if we hit their July meeting and then, we can get them the memo in June, what we're doing, right? They would know about it, and then July and August, they could have their public hearing.
would we have to, in our letter to the town council, we probably want to express our suggested level of interest in the land?
In terms
Legal
of-
interest.
Suggested.
Oh, yes, right. So,
So we'd have to-
yeah, we've done executory interest for Clark, and we've done it for, I think we have 4 that we have executory interest in, and I certainly don't think we want any more than that, since we don't need to be even more. So, I think it's nice for the town to say, yeah, we have executory interest, we contributed to it, but that, what do people, we don't have to do anything when it's executory interest, we just, yeah.
When you have a third party
Get
right
the report.
of enforcement, a little bit more work.
In 300 years, we don't know.
Executory interest?
It's just a safety net.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the first option you mentioned, right, where if South goes away, Newmarket maintains the land.
Yeah.
Yep.
So every other town might go away before the South does.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, that would be great. Towns-
All right, so maybe we'll do this in a couple votes. So we have a letter of support and interest in holding an executory interest. Do we want to take a vote on that first? Want to make a motion? All right. Second, David? Second, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I think I'll abstain just because I'm familiar with that.
I'm crossing it off.
Sorry, yeah, I'm pretty close to this.
Changes my mind.
I'm not too worried about the majority voting. Okay, and executory interest, okay. What would be your preference in terms of funding? Any suggestions?
I would suggest that we approve up to, or would recommend up to 100,000 from the various funding pots available, and to go to this project.
Is that a motion?
I think that's a
Okay.
motion.
Second from Melissa, any discussion? So primarily, we want all of it to come from, we want to use up the open space bond, is that sort of the gist of the
Yeah.
suggestion, and the balance would come from the conservation fund? Okay.
What's in the
Yeah.
conservation fund at the moment?
We have 135,000. So we're pretty good. We're really, I think, at the tail end of getting much current land use change tax, sort of built that in terms of the big projects, and then when you conserve a piece, you don't get the land use change tax, right? So, but it's great to be able to use that on the project. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
You still abstaining?
Yes. Awesome, okay.
Great.
Yeah, so I think public hearing, I think we have to give a two-week notice, I think. So we'll schedule that, we can actually do it at our meeting, so we'll have a public hearing at our June meeting.
What, do you know the date of that meeting?
June, take a look. June 13th, second Tuesday is a bit later.
June is my daughter's graduating from high school, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool. Nice work, Dad.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very happy. Yep, okay. I can do June.
You all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm kind of shocked. I thought all of June was being sucked up every evening.
So we're going to do a public hearing June 13th.
What's
So
that?
Brian Ward's not, he's our council rep, but what we'll do is, because we'll have to write something for the public hearing, and maybe I'll work with you, we can write that, and we'll have support, and that would all go to the council at their June meeting, so they would have the information, and maybe I can go, and if anybody wants to go, we can go and make a presentation at the June meeting and lay out the process.
Excellent.
And-
Herb.
And then if you work on a date for walking the property.
Yep, Ellen,
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
if you all want to, or if you want to do it tonight too. we could- or if you-
Sure, why don't we, yeah, I think you should, yeah, it'd be great if you can,
Like, it's getting a little dark right now.
let's go.
Everybody get their headbands?
And I don't know, maybe if Alan's around, he's wonderful to meet,
Yeah.
and he's away till, I think, the 17th.
Yeah, I did let Alan know we were meeting tonight.
Good, yeah.
I gave him a copy of the memo.
Awesome.
Family has looked at it.
So maybe the week of the 20th of May?
Do you all, what times do you like to do your sidewalks?
Could it be like a
5:30.
Yeah, or 4:30, 5:30, or 5:30 better? 5:30? That,
A weekend?
yeah.
Weekend?
No, I just asked what the, I don't know.
I think of a weekday, right? With 5:30 after work, does that work?
Yeah.
The
Sounds good.
23rd would work well. for me.
23rd.
May 23rd.
May 23rd at 5:30. We could probably park at the woodworking school.
Yeah. I'll double check with Alan.
Mhm.
5:30. Yep.
It's rare that you come across granted land.
Yeah.
There's a lot up in Stratford as well, where the families had it. As a
Yeah, well,
since it was granted.
Hilton's property that he could easement on this
Yeah.
King's Grant.
They were great. The family dropped off a nice binder of the family history, and I just haven't had a chance to really dive into it yet.
Yeah.
Been a little busy, but I look forward to. It's what I really want to look into too is it's the Burley family, and as you know, we have the Burley
yeah.
farm. So I don't know whether it's this related in any way to the Burley family. So I look forward to finding out more. But they provided me the information. Now I got to delve into it.
Great. Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank
Great
you
work.
all.
I know
I
you're
look
working
forward to
hard on
working with
other
you.
projects.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
good seeing
appreciative.
you.
Good to see all of you again.
All right.
What public hearing did we have? Just out of curiosity, what it's.
We had to have a public hearing for the Gaziano, but because we, I don't know why, but we have to have a public hearing.
You just voted. Was that vote? I was just
Um,
curious. I don't mean to. you
No,
don't
I
to
think
get
you
into
have to, I think you still have to, we can vote, but we still have to have a public hearing. Maybe we're supposed to vote after. Maybe we'll take another vote, public hearing. Sorry. We just, this is the idea we want to do, so if we have to do it again, that's fine. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
See ya, thanks,
ya.
Dwayne.
Aye.
All right. That's my agenda, there we go. All right, we have January 11th, 2024 meeting minutes to approve. Thank you for taking those. That was when we were working
Lengthy.
on the master plan stuff, yep. I read through, they look fine. Anybody have any edits? Motion to approve as written.
Approved.
Colin, second. Also, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. Finance report, sorry I didn't get it out to you. What's going on? Okay, the balance in the conservation fund is $135,050.16. $4,621.11 in the Shanda fund, total of $139,671.27. We got $386.79 in interest. We paid out, we had approved up to $500 for the Wigan Farm kiosk, and then we added in the bridge repairs, which were done this year, and that was only a total of like $150 for materials, so I ended up having those paid. That was to me, because I love the material, so thank you. Then we approved we approved money to, remember to print the 2 Moonlight Brook caution signs, so those are at Portsmouth Sign, they're going to be $100 total, $50 each, so that's pending. And then I'm going to have a couple more things when we get under stewardship. So, any questions on the conservation fund? All right, the general fund balance is $1,693.95. This is the month of May, so we only have another month.
Don't worry. They'll all be done.
All right.
They're equally long, I want you
Yes,
to
I
know.
know, it's a lot. So we had, we spent $37.42 on the minute taker. And I remember you approved up to $200 for the notebooks, and I'm working on those, and I spent $149.34 so far, which I think will be all. So I bought 3-ring binders and inserts, and now compiling all the material, just like in stacks, and so when I get it all, you know, put it
Yes.
together.
I'm sitting here thinking.
Maybe by June.
Tell me she's not doing all that by herself.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? I think that was all for, yeah. All good? All right. Onward to the master plan. So, a couple things. You have a draft of the open space plan. Remember at the last meeting, we still had Autumn, and she was still working on it, and then she's now left Stratford Regional Planning Commission, so I worked on it, and Bart edited it, and it still needs some work, but we're getting closer. The thing is, so we need to submit a draft to this grant by the end of this month, so it can be a draft apparently, so even if it looks like this, apparently that's okay.
Wow.
But, and it has to go to the planning board also. Does it have to go to the planning board in May before it goes, or,
Yes,
sorry, Bart's gonna contribute here.
so that's
The way the grant written, that has to be submitted to the planning board for their review.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be approved. So just a schedule update on the planning board, we don't really have anything on the docket for the 14th, but we're gonna, so that meeting will probably be postponed till the end of the month. So that gives more time to write this, finish this up and submit it for their review. And just kind of parallel to this, also, the reason why we need more time, we're postponing the planning board meetings, the planning board's gonna have a first look at the draft for the rezoning up in, on North Main Street, so that's why it's being moved. Anyways, that would be the opportunity.
Okay, great. So, so my thought is, if, I know it's really short, but if you can review and edit whatever you want to, feel free to, whatever things, if you think there's still some stuff missing. We've got most of the components there, but there might be some stuff missing. Don't really worry about formatting, because I think the formatting is going to get taken care of, because it's going to be a mobile as well as, it's going to be all kinds of opportunities to
It'll be two
use.
different formats.
Yeah.
One for online and then the other.
So what's your
PDF.
time frame for comment?
So if you could get them to me by next Thursday, because we need to write it and then get it to the planning board, at least they need a review it, right?
Yes.
one.
Sure, yeah, feel free, anything you got. This is a
Yeah.
community project at this point, so.
Yeah.
And we
Let's,
will, even though this transition at SRPC, we will have a staff member to fill in the interim. So he'll be helping us out as well, Kyle.
Yeah, if you, I like visuals, so I threw in some photos. I think you could have some more photos. One thought is think about whether you like the maps embedded or all at the end. Again, I was kind of thinking that it was nice to see them when you talk about a certain
I
topic.
liked that,
You like-
actually,
yeah.
it was immediate.
Rather than
Yeah.
having to go back and
Yeah, so we haven't put all of them in, so we can put some more in.
This
And
is a
then,
lot of work, you guys, thank you.
I like a little bit of whimsy, so you'll find
I
my
did
style.
notice that.
Because I don't want, I don't like boring
Kitty
things.
Wampus
Different
is not in
something
there.
with a
What's that?
flavor.
Kitty Wampus.
Oh, I'll find it. for
She'll
you.
sneak it in.
So
Two
you'll,
properties, 2 different flavors.
some people might not like that, but I think if you're going to read it, I want them to read something that's fun. So please, feel free, and, we could really use your input on this.
You want comments on the maps as well? 'Cause I know they're in we got the draft minutes.
Yeah, the maps, Mark, that's,
Yeah, we'll comment on the maps. Take all the comments we want. We'll take everything. So just,
Okay, I only have one.
yeah, that's fine.
Is that-
Great.
Oh, you don't want it now? You
No,
want
no,
it-
no. Just,
yeah, no,
just-
mark
just-
it on your.
Just mark it and just submit it. Yeah.
No, no.
Do you need a red pen? You
It's
need
a simple
red
one.
pen.
It's just a layer.
Okay, so I think that's, comment on the maps too, because you got exactly what you So the other thing I wanted to just check back on the checklist, because I did use it. I need to find my stuff. I used it for the Mitchell property, and I, so I came up with a couple of things, and I'll just share with you what I thought. So one, I thought it should have a date. There should be a place for the date, like when we fill it out, kind of thing. And then, so I marked it up, and you can see, of all that data that Dwayne had, so when we check off something like directly abuts existing conservation land, you almost need like a notes column, so you could write this stuff right over in there.
What's it
And he
about?
had all in the acreages, you could put it with the check mark. And then there were some things I thought he had that we don't have, and then we have some stuff that he didn't have in his, but for the most part, it worked really well.
That
Just
note
include
column
that.
would be on the right side?
Yeah, I think the column needs to be on the right side, might have to squish
Okay.
things a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of room on the left, you can get rid of the numbers, probably.
Use the Cornell system.
Yeah.
Doing the note-taking.
Yeah.
And he had, so one of the things, he had some other stuff. He had climate resiliency, he had pollution attenuation, and he had unfragmented block of conserved land. So I didn't know if we wanted to add those as, like the unfragmented block could actually go under unique.
What's that mean?
ecological features.
Unfragmented block.
Unfragmented block.
But is there like a definition for that? Like, what do you mean by, there's
So
on the
typically
parcel
it's-
itself?
Typically, no, it's where is it? Is it within usually it's
In a region?
unfragmented by roads. So
Okay.
typically you look at it without the roads, but
Okay.
I think because there's so much conserved land, he was saying how it connects the
Oh,
4,000
connects,
acres,
abuts.
even if it goes across roads. So we do cover that in the abutting, but,
Yeah.
and we're so small now, probably don't need.
And the other one was pollutant what?
Attenuation.
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 So we might want to,
What would be this? Oh, that's right, the source
the
was
coastal
the
plan,
TNC.
Nature Conservancy stuff,
Okay.
right?
Has that in
Yeah.
it? Because I know I have to put a preference.
So, does anybody want to update the form with this information?
What do you mean, like we have the form in Word
No.
format and need to
Well,
edit it?
Yeah.
Oh, Alan, write it down, I'll get a crack at it.
Awesome,
Yeah.
all right. I'll just,
Thanks, Mark.
great.
I just know I'm gonna download it and everything's gonna share.
So,
Don't worry, I was doing tabs
Alright.
today and I was not.
Word documents are really difficult to
so I
edit.
have a lot of
Yeah.
experience with formatting with Word, so I
Okay.
know it's
I'll give you
intricacies.
my,
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
the table of contents tab, man, that just
I know.
blows me away.
To Word.
All right, okay, so let's see, what else we have for, right, oh, sorry, so comments to me, you have to direct message me, you can't send them to the whole group.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what was the last?
You can't, you just have to send them to me directly, you can't send them to the whole group.
but can you just,
Gotcha.
and CC me too?
Yes,
you
you
know.
see.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to mention the survey questions?
Yeah, so similar to what we did a few months ago with the housing and open space, we're going to have another round with remaining chapters. So, for instance, we'll be doing future land use chapter, transportation, downtown riverfront, recreation, and the rest of them, economic development, there's a few right there. So since this is a larger survey, we're allotting 3 questions per chapter. So we thought that this might be a good opportunity, if the Conservation Commission wants to take a look. I can do a follow-up on this. Look at the lists, or at least the chapters, and if you have any questions you think would be pertinent, just submit them, and then we can put that to the department committees, teams, and then they can start drafting that. We feel, at least Ellen and I, had the feeling that you guys are kind of survey burnt out and master plan burnt out right now, and we may want to, take a break, but we encourage and support if you still want to, continue on that. If there's any chapters that you really feel passionate about, more so than our land and water conservation chapter, I'd be happy to have your participation in that. So again, I'll do a follow-up email with you all, because we're going to get the format, the document from SRPC, and we just presented it last night, and then we can move forward. So I think, just based on our conversations that we've had before, maybe recreation, in the sense of like trails, something like that, something that connects our conservation lands to people, which is typically trails. Again, but I'm not going to assume. So if there's any questions that you think people should consider asking, please submit them to me.
Great.
So,
I have 2 more things about the open space plan that I just forgot, so we should get back to that.
circle back.
All right, so thank you, Bart. So in the back of your open space plan, one of the things I thought was used as an appendix are the property spreadsheets. So there's one for the town-owned conservation lands, there's one for town-held easements, and one for executory interests that we hold, and then there's one of all the subdivisions. So this corresponds to the map of conserved lands that's in the open space plan. And then we do need to create another one for all the other open space. It's not one of those 4 categories, like Fish and Game owns some land directly, or the Nature Conservancy that we don't have any interest in. So I'll work on that, but, and I don't know if the table should have all this information in it, but you might take a look at those and see if you think should these be appendices as written, or do we want to simplify them? But they're just going to be appendices, so, yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really useful information, so there's that, and then we actually have a little activity we need to do. Getting is, so if you take out your conservation focus area map, so this is from the coastal plan. If you remember, this has got all the, in green is the existing conserved lands, so it's got the subdivisions, it's got the lands that we own, and so forth. And then the yellowish, doesn't copy super well, but the yellow color is what the coastal plan, the Nature Conservancy, the plan that we're using for lots of things, highlights what they consider focus areas. And again, they use lots of different data layers. So they use the wildlife action plan, they use all sorts of stuff, wetlands, etc. And so that's really helpful. But what I thought we should do is look at this and see, do we just want to say, okay, those are our focus areas, we like those, and we'll, if we can do land conservation with interested landowners, if there's any zoning that might help protect those areas, or do we want to zero in and even prioritize these on the map and maybe give them names like parts of town. I've given some examples like Salt Marsh on Great Bay, the Piscasset River Corridor, things like that. And so that helps us, I think sometimes that helps we want to reach out to landowners, or everybody's in a certain special area. So You'll note that if you look on the southwest corner, the Mitchell property was in a conservation focus area, and that's pretty well
Yeah.
conserved at that point, at this point. Assuming that'll go through. So anyway, open to ideas. And so, because I think one of the parts of the open space plan is it talks about the town and all the features, but then the last part is, well, what are your focus areas? Where do you want to go in terms of potentially conservation, both from land conservation, but also education, and also they want some regulatory things. And so,
Well, I'm
yeah.
just thinking out loud.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about.
Of course, the coastal conservation focus areas, I should think, would be at least included in our priorities. Is there some other category that's not covered by that we would be interested in as
No.
a secondary focus?
No, I mean, there's a lot of yellow, and so,
I know, yeah.
does that mean all of it is a priority for us to work on? Some of it is the backyards of subdivisions, so it's not, it's probably not going to.
What is the gray areas here? Have you seen anything in that?
The outside, this is outside, anything gray is outside the town boundary, so that's developed. And inside the town, he shows it as white. They always sort of change the color outside town.
It's a shade.
It's a shade, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shade.
I mean,
Same color.
and I don't mean to sound like I'm being selfish or anything, but I would say the area essentially from Lady Slipper and the giant wetland system that wraps around Lady Slipper, southwest across Ash Swamp down to the town boundary. It seems like the largest area of contiguous yellow that extends off into new fields with uninterrupted, I would say unfragmented to the south, because the next road is, there's the rail trail, and then the next road isn't until 87 really, or what do you call it? Old Lee Road, sorry. It's a large, we know it's very active for wildlife. It's a huge wetland system. It actually ends up going both ways, directly into this, feeds directly into the Squamscott and into the Piscasset.
Yep.
It's two watersheds. Seems like a decent, large, unfragmented area with potential large parcels to conserve potentially.
So I think I would agree with you. I think, back to your question, Tom, I think one of the things that helps us do is, because in the previous coastal plan and in our previous open space plan, you identify these areas and then you have a description. And so, because right now there's no descriptions for these focus areas. They just say, these are your focus areas, and you have to go back to all the data layers. And
I see.
You can't really figure out specifically, unless you really dive into it, what was the data here. But we can, just what Jeff said, that describes that, and that's why that's a focus area, because it's got all those characteristics.
You have to name it, like Ash Swamp East.
I think it's
or
nice to have a
something like
name.
that. I don't know.
That's how you get people excited about
Do like a
things.
necklace almost.
Like Hilton
Right,
Brook,
going down like that, all the way up to there.
Yeah.
The steel from Boston.
I would say the salt marsh on Great Bay is a priority area.
Yeah.
So I would envision that, we have a map at it, so we would take this map and we just make big circles, because we're not identifying specific property owners, right? We're just saying this is a pretty important focus area, and people like to know sometimes.
You could
people don't.
buffer all the salt marsh.
Yeah.
And have a protection area.
Mhm.
What's the stuff off of New Road that's yellow?
That's the salt marsh.
Oh, that's the one. I thought you were talking about the stuff up here.
No, I'm thinking, sorry, yeah, the New Road, anything
Oh,
east of
that
New
giant
Road.
chunk.
It's not all salt marsh,
It's
it's
a
closer to
necklace.
the one, but that's where the salt marsh migration potential is, all that kind of stuff, so. Are people good with the ash swamp circle and then a circle on the New Road?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd basically go from, the Piscasset River all the way as far east as the largest parcel and north to the Lady Slipper.
I personally think the Piscasset River corridor is pretty interesting and cool, and there's still a lot of opportunity, I think, with landowners in various aspects. So I would say the Piscasset River corridor would be
Right.
and we could pick some,
And it spurs off the Lady Slipper.
yeah.
Okay.
Or definitely the south side of Ashland too, there's some large parcels that go in multiple towns that are
Those already
undeveloped.
connect, but yeah, and there's a lot that's already protected. So it's but all the way up to Langs Lane and Piscataqua River Loisel, that corridor. All right, any other, what about, a lot of the land out on Bay Road's already conserved. What that big parcel is, it's got.
Which one?
Oh,
The really
Bay
big
Road.
one?
It's big parcels going on.
It's Schultz, this one.
Did that TNC parcel ever
No,
get momentum?
no, not, it was moving, but then Elizabeth, the woman who came, she moved to a different position at Health, or at Nature Conservancy. She's working on the Appalachians. What about the west? Everything west is pretty well either developed or, I mean, the yellows are really through people's backyards, kind of thing, so that they're more of our wetlands buffers, which are already in effect. Transfer station.
You've already talked about the parcel behind the Scassock River between Langs Lane and Wadley Falls, all that yellow.
No, so that area where there's a well, so if you
Yep.
go up Langs Lane and take a right on 122, that parcel there, that's the well, town well. And so what about that? Anybody have any thoughts about back in there?
Which, well, you mean the town-owned pieces?
The town well, it's east of Langs Lane, Sewell well.
Oh, that one, I got you.
Yeah. So we've got, there's a big chunk in there between Langs Lane and 152.
Except for our little bitty neighborhood green
Right.
on the
Yes,
other side of
yeah,
it.
you're right, yeah, and that, it sort of butts up to the Piscataqua River corridor, so we could sort of take that, so you'd have sort of like Piscataqua River corridor, then you get that ash swamp you take in, and then you go up and you take in the Langs Lane, Wellhead area. I think the one area that I wonder about is the aquifer, which is, interestingly, doesn't show as a focus here, the aquifer over the corner of Ash Swamp and Wabi Falls. Isn't that where you're going to do a zoning change?
Potentially, yeah, that's what we're looking at down in the future. But I wonder if because it's,
I think it's because it's a gravel pit.
Yeah.
Well, there's one large piece right there that is part former gravel pit, part woods. That's not an active pit anymore. The piece just to the left of the bottom end of the one that was just conserved.
Yeah, that green actually is not completely accurate. That, it looks like it's sort of a T, a fat T. I think the part close to the road is not, sort of, I think it's just the back part. That's not accurate in, yeah, we're going to have to fix that.
What's the zoning plan for part?
We don't have one yet. Conceptually, what we're thinking about is, when that comes online, what can we do there? So
The
we
pits?
the pit at the pits, yeah. So
Yeah, I can do it. This
came up as
I think that's a good.
an area to focus on in that gateway study. And, town to look at, if water and sewer were brought out there, what could it become?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a good chunk of room.
Right, so.
So that's
We'll
what,
have that conversation much later.
but, so that's one where it's not a focus area from the coastal plan, but maybe we think it is because it's got the aquifer.
Okay.
The other area I wanted to visit back with is Neal Mill Road. There's there's some properties in there. Is that right? None of those are all built, those are all kind of built on. Yeah. I know, it's showing a lot, you know why, because it's a lot of fields.
Yeah.
The field ranks high, because
Yep.
we have to little
And
fields.
it is
so,
all wet.
It kind of fits into that corridor, and you can take in a little loop there, again, like we did with the other one.
I mean, one of the things that I think was attractive about the Bald Hill piece is that there's so much upland. There's so much developable land that was pulled out, and I think that that could help. I mean, I do mention the area around the tributary swamps to the Piscassic, but in all reality, no one's building there. You know, some of these areas like up by the aquifer, like that's not wetlands, you know. Potentially east of Lang's Lane and southwest of 152, that area might be upland, I don't know. And that leads down to the river, so something to consider when you sort of focus the actual developable
Gravel
aspect
pits
of
are
the
actually great.
property.
Yeah, and there was more developable except for the one lot that Sharon Tucker
Yeah,
has
I know.
built out.
Yeah.
What's this yellow one out Neal Mill Road that's kind of,
Yeah, so that's kind
it's,
of good too.
it's on the other side of the beaver pond, I think.
No,
right?
that's fishing, so the,
Thought that was conserved.
here, it is, so it's
Okay.
conserved, I don't know why it's showing up, under, yeah, that's conserved, and actually that yellow strip is conserved.
Yeah, isn't that ours? The town easement?
Yeah, and
On
this
the
other one
southern
is
machine.
held by Fish and Game, and that one and another one are in probate.
I think it's TNC or something. like
Fish and Game holds that one.
that. The odd, kind
That
of
odd,
five-sided.
So one thing could be the focus areas is, we really think if, land conservation would be really important in those focus areas, or a big part of why that would be a focus area. But there could be others where, if there's some conservation opportunity, that's great, but it could be also education and overlay districts. So I don't know that we should discount if there's, even though we know there's, because we might want to say, Julie, you live in an area that's really important. Maybe you should think about this or that. So I think about that with the aquifer, because even though we know it might get rezoned, if we think it's important to think about when you're developing that there's an aquifer under there, so it's a main town aquifer, that, be careful. So it's just a suggestion that might still be, you might think that's the focus area for that.
If it were to ever to be rezoned, that would definitely be a main consideration, for uses and, overall, build out, what can this parcel hold without really compromising the aquifer significantly. So yeah, and again, I think there'll be a lot of thought into that, and I think the only way to really make it a truly good development, if it were to come to fruition, is water and sewer were brought out to it. And you couldn't do anything else otherwise. And then, when you are looking at it, making sure that you have the best infrastructure in place to handle any type of stormwater or not. And, because, loose sands, it's going to go straight down otherwise, so we want to make sure that stormwater is a critical factor there.
So what if we, anyway, are there any, so one of the
So-
ways, go ahead.
There are some restrictions as to what you can and can't do there because of the aquifer.
Yeah, already.
Yeah.
So we would honor that, and then you could still build a house or development out there. That's not disallowed. So if they want to, they could take that out and subdivide it and build housing. It's just what they're trying to offer for the overlay district, where it protects us from industrial uses.
Is there a percent impermeable surface allowed? Any restrictions on that over an aquifer?
I'll have to double check and maybe, but
Just curious.
yeah.
But that's the kind of thing we could put in the open space plan, like those sorts of things, like more. So one way we could approach it is to say, we have this coastal plan conservation focus areas, and those, we think those are all really important. But here are some sort of specific areas
Extra.
and why these are even, we think are maybe the highest priority.
Extra important,
Extra
yeah.
important. Does that sound like
I
a?
got you.
If there, yeah, like if zone, yeah, I mean, I would assume a zoning change would be to encourage development.
That'd be the point, yes.
That would be the point,
Yeah.
right? And it'd be, I mean, you would, if the Conservation Commission would probably want to discourage development
That's
in
our
an
goal.
area such as an aquifer. So,
Right, that's why we put it in the open space plan and describe why we think it's a
Right.
very sensitive area, and the town and the community can decide which way they want to go with it. It's all the way, or none, or some protection.
Yeah, we think that these areas are important to protect.
Well, we
and-
can still work to protect them regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think they're important to work to protect and for whatever reason, and perhaps discourage development in those areas.
Just gonna
All right, anything else pops out that folks want to sort of highlight besides the areas that we've talked about? I don't know if we need to highlight the Bald Hill. I suppose there's always a chance it falls through, but I suppose we could highlight it and say this is a great example of its going into conservation.
If it gets through quick enough, it can only help south.
I know,
And
that's true,
fishing
yeah,
game.
exactly. So, yeah, I think we actually should. It's got the highest point. Okay, I think we're in pretty good shape. I can take a stab at, writing up little blurbs about these.
Okay.
Is that an additional
Thanks,
chapter
Ellen.
within where does that fit within the open space plan?
It's at the end.
At the end in the
Yeah.
chart.
Well, add it to your plate, it's already overflowing.
Another
Yep.
appendix.
My brain's already fried for this purpose. So. All right. I think that's all I had for the master plan, so. So comments by next Thursday if we
By
can.
the 16th.
Yeah, and if you want to mark that up and you want to hand that, just let me know and give it to Wendy upstairs and I can come by and pick it up or something. Or I can come by your house or whatever.
Okay,
Easy.
thank you, Larry.
Toss it to you next time.
Toss,
I
yeah,
hike
exactly.
Off the horse.
Off the horse. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, let's move along. Town council, we don't have any update. Anybody else have an update from council? Anything going on there? Planning board, Jeff.
We did not meet since our last conservation commission meeting, and I'm learning from Bart as I sit here.
Yeah.
I didn't know our meeting next week was not.
Yeah, so I was going to follow up with the board. So basically, because of documents aren't ready for review, one from the rezoning, and because we're still working on that, and then open space plan, and we have nothing to review from the public, no one submitted any applications. We decided to postpone until the end of May, and at the end of May, we review both. That's really what will be on the docket primarily, planning board.
Do you want to just mention you had a committee meeting on the zoning district change?
Sorry, yes. April 18th, 19th, 17th, 18th, around there. Myself, Stratford Regional, and Adrian Van from Small Town Planning. We reached out to 195 property owners, and we got 60 respondents who actually came, so that was great. Basically, we talked about what type of building types that people like or dislike, and if they, wherever they did like, where they could see it going on in the area of focus. Essentially what we did, we did an introduction on, our approach, what we're doing, our philosophy of this type of zoning, how important it is for community buy-in for this and participation. And then we busted out these housing cards, which I brought with me, but basically it shows different building types. And we selected a couple segments of them out of the deck that we thought would be appropriate for this type of zoning change, and we had people say, all right, which ones you like and don't like, and they sorted them out, and then from the ones they did like, they said, okay, where can you see these existing in your neighborhood or in this area? And so they put it on the map, and so it kind of gives us an understanding of what the community would be comfortable with. It was very positive. It was a lot of great feedback. I think there was only like one person that just left saying no, nothing, to anything. So I thought that was the
Wasn't
grade
me.
screen. What?
I
No.
did,
Wasn't me.
I did put your
I was
name.
I was out of town, actually.
Yeah.
It was so sad that I couldn't be
Send a
there.
proxy.
But, like I said, so out of those comments, consultants and myself are starting to draft it. So we'll have our first look at a really preliminary draft from the planning board to kind of introduce it to them and, get their initial comments, and then we'll just go back to the table after that. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It was, like I said, it was a great engagement, in public engagement opportunity.
I heard positive feedback
Yeah, yeah.
from neighbors.
Yeah, we wanted, we just really want to emphasize, we want to, have them have, through where the changes, we want to make sure that they have agency over these changes, and they have really a lot of feedback to give. And yeah, like I said, everyone was wonderful there, so I couldn't have been happier with the result, honestly, from a process standpoint. So, yeah, so that was that. And Master Plan Subcommittee met yesterday. We went over those questions, like I said, I asked you for our draft questions that we're looking for the next survey coming out. And then we also went over a program that we're going to run, analysis we're going to run. It's called Community Viz. And what that is it shows you what your existing zoning is and how it can be built out based on the parameters of your zoning. And then it allows you to change those parameters based on where you think you would like your development to go. And it shows you, what that possibly might look like. So we are looking for guidance from the Master Plan Subcommittee, Plan Board, on those areas where focus, kind of, circling back to, leaning in our developable areas already. Is there opportunities for infill there instead of, going out to our, more rural lands and, sprawling out more. So we just want to make sure we get those target areas right. And everyone agree, at least try to get some consensus on where those areas are for future growth and see what that might look like. So we're planning a few different scenarios for that. We only get 3, maybe 4. So we just want to make sure that wherever those parameters are, those areas of town are, that we get it right. It's fascinating. So that is all I have for now.
Anything on the technical review committee? We got done.
That'll be coming up later. Yeah.
The only thing, just again, we sent out the PREPA prime wetlands application, and we're supposed to make the announcements May 16th. That's next week, I think. Maybe we'll get that money. Be nice. You haven't heard anything, right? No. All right. Thank you, Bart. Riverfront, do we,
Maybe.
yeah, got nothing on that. Just I mentioned that with the caution signs for the water quality or reproduction, we'll probably get them next week.
Yeah, the only thing I guess we'll work on is those links and then get the stickers, QR codes.
Yes, there'll be a QR code with more information on our town website. This is specific about the Moonlight Brook, the duck, I think the ducks is still in
Still
design,
draft.
design phase.
Where's the QR code going to go? On those signs?
On the side.
On the signs.
So that'll lead to the conservation page. And then we'll have certain links there to scrap the problem and things that we're doing too. So.
And you have a new staff person in your office, you said?
Maybe. So we sent out a letter of, I don't know what to say. We selected a candidate and the offer's out there. So I still haven't heard back on if she's accepted it yet or not, but we are excited that she will.
Sue Jordan, who retired, who's been there a long time.
So I'm sorry, what is this position?
It's an administration position in the planning office, so
Oh,
land
cool.
use administrator. Yeah.
Great.
Yep. So kind of the idea is for that position to grow into, either the way we set it up is either planning track or code enforcement based on what their desires are and, interests are. And then, kind of help them grow into those positions. So, that would, in-house, retention.
Great. All right, thanks so much. Great, other committee reports? Yeah, the Energy and Environment Committee's been, we were talking about our survey questions for this next survey that's going out with SRPC. And we've been working, we had the energy chapter drafted a while ago because it was something that we had taken on before this all started. And then I did bring up the waste initiatives that you had emailed along a while back, Ellen, and other Ellen is interested in possibly taking that on and maybe in conjunction with the Conservation Commission if it was something we were interested in. But she mentioned that there was a presentation from Casella a while back where we learned that it's not great where our recycling goes, and that there could be a lot of improvements. So she mentioned she'd be interested in setting up tours of other facilities to see if there might be better options out there for the town. And we just kind of chatted about other initiatives we could put out there to the town. Mainly, the biggest thing is not buying plastic. And then I came up with the idea of maybe looking into options for a refillery in town if that was something along down the road that we could bring in as a business, and then thinking of ways to make it accessible because I know that can be something that's very inaccessible. So yeah, we had a good chat about that.
I had just, I actually sent it as a personal email about recycling and solid waste because it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
It's, the programs aren't working, but it's not really individual's fault. But people are putting all sorts of stuff in the recycle bin.
Oh,
And there's no education about, because Casella just hates it. They don't educate the consumer. And so it's just getting dumped in the landfill. So we're paying for that. And it's just a mess. And so,
Well, I think when there's a dumpster, it says recyclables, no paper free. Throwing paper in it is not, you don't need much education for that. It's just completely abused
yeah. Well, I think Durham,
the service.
Durham had a committee and they researched that, cardboard gave them the most money and aluminum cans, I think, gave them the most money. And so I think they wanted to go back to separating. The single stream thing is, in my opinion, been a disaster.
Yeah.
Totally contaminated.
Still separate it because I can't help not separate it.
I know. So anyway, that's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely something
Yeah.
we'd be interested
Yeah.
in taking up. And then I thought it was interesting, she brought up that the town of Merrimack, the citizens started their own energy committee, totally separate from the town. So we were just giving them our full support in what they're doing there. Yeah. Finally made it to a meeting.
All right, nice. Any
Yeah.
questions for Julie? Very good. All right, let's move along on trails. Colin, do you want to go first? I've got a couple of things on trails. So you want to talk about your project?
So we've started, we've got the fence out of there.
Just say where you're talking about so people listening.
Okay, the
know what-
HOA trail,
Boulder
Boulder HOA trail between Dame Road and Lamprey Street. We've talked to multiple meetings with the HOA. They're very supportive. They're ready to have it move forward. The fencing that was there, I don't know if it was put up before they did the conservation easement on that or not, but it's now off the property. We're waiting for it to get picked up, hopefully by DPW. And once that's done, I have a meeting with, oh my God, his name is slipping me. Jeff, I think it is, Salvatore, who is now the chair of the HOA, to just go through. We're redesigning it, repositioning some of it because of erosion. And then the idea is we'll use wood chips and potentially stone in really wet spots. So we have to get some funding for the stone. Wood chips, I'm going to search that out. Is there any pushback on using wood chips?
It's just, it's not recommended in wet areas because it just makes it muddier.
In wet areas, but in the drier areas?
For dry, yeah. I mean, they're free, so.
Yeah. So hopefully, I would guess probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll start improving it. And it's being used now. I see more people on it every day. So again, you know, at some point, maybe you and I can look at the potential to extend that on the other side of Dame Road. We talked about that earlier. So if we can get something that could eventually connect to the Sweet Trail, that would be an awesome opportunity. But it is being used, which is great.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Coleman? All right, I have I can't remember where we discussed the old Class A trail last time, but you, I think, agreed that we could go look for grant funds. So I got a proposal from Greg DeSanto to fix the erosion on the trail, put in these rock dips on both sides of the bridge, bring in material. He's got to bring an excavator, he's got to go around, so that's really a big expense usually. So it's $4,500. I wrote a grant to LRAC, and I sent it to Suzanne, who's the director, because she does a really nice job of reading it and giving feedback before you actually submit it. So she had some good suggestions, so I haven't had a chance to revise it. When I do, I'll bring it forward. And then I also did the same thing for the Wigan Farm Bridge, which we can talk about in detail, and she also gave some really good feedback on that one too. And her main concern are wetlands permits, because DES has gotten very, they thought they were making it simpler for coming up with these different categories, like trail notification, but when you actually have to do a permit, it's getting very complicated. So I'll talk about that in a second. But so my thought is to, well, there's this other grant program that the Great Bay Resource Protection Partnership just started. It's a stewardship grant program. They just announced it like May 1st, and the deadline's June 3rd, so it's a little tricky. But their website was down today, so I can't remember. You have to have a match for this stewardship grant, the Great Bay Partnership Grant. My thought was that we apply for both of these to the Great Bay Partnership, and if they fund them, great. If they only fund part of them, then we go to LRAC for the remaining money for the two projects.
Can LRAC money be more?
It can.
If it's in
I
hand,
think
maybe.
so, because because this program is coming from a private foundation, I think. Yeah, so that's good, because that's federal money, so sometimes you can't use it. But the only problem I have right now is I don't know what the match is required, and it's due June 1st, which is like another thing. But I'd like to apply, because this is the first time, and they want lots of applications to show that the program is really needed. So I might have to indulge you, if you agree, to, I'll just sort of figure it out, like what the match is, and we'll just say we're going to apply LRAC for the match. Now, there's one piece, though, that we could provide if we think. So the Wigan Farm Bridge, I gave you a sketch. Greg DeSanto is the trails guy. And if you know Wigan Farm, we've done some work there, and so my feeling is the bridge needs to be rebuilt, and then so the ramps are too steep, and then you'd have to, and so when you do this now, DES requires that your boardwalk be elevated out of the wetlands. So even some of the flat we have to elevate, and so we have to use these like piers, and so that's what Greg was doing the sketch. It's, you need a wetland scientist to really exactly delineate wetlands, because DES's simple permit, it has to be under 60 feet. And we might be just over 60 feet. So I've talked to Mark West, who's a wetland scientist who we use a lot. He's done all this kind of stuff. So he gave me a quote. So I think we need to have him look at it, tell us where the wetland is, tell us which permit we can apply for, because it's either going to be like a $25 permit, which is just to notify. I think the next one's $400, which I have a feeling we're going to have to do that one. We don't want to do the big one, which is a standard dredge and fill, which is like really expensive. So, Mark, he will come out and look at and flag the wetland and measure and see what our impact will be. And then he would talk to DES and say, this is what we got, which permit do we have to apply for? So that was, his quote was, let's see, preliminary site inspection to determine wetland boundaries and impacts and type of permit required, collect data for application, $320, and then consult with DES on which type of permit. He would provide aerial photos and aerial map and ground photos, $200. So that's $520. That doesn't include the actual filing the permit because he doesn't know which permit we have to apply for. So what I thought was, if you again, if you like this and approve it, we would budget up to the $520 for Mark to do that work. We put that in the grant application to the Great Bear Partnership and just say, we probably take the upper estimate of, we need the permit amount is $400 and then Mark's time. So maybe $1,000, I don't know. We put that in the grant. Does that make sense? I kind of,
Yeah.
it's a lot there, but.
What happens when you don't get the grant, so you still need to do it, right?
Well, yeah, it'd be nice to do, but it's, I'm optimistic that we will get some, because I think we'll get some. Because the thing with the Wigan Farm especially is it's L-chip helped conserve it, Fish and Game holds the easement, we have all these other partners, so it's a property that everybody supports. The bridge has been there since the beginning, and so we're just replacing it, but we're doing it better.
With a better
and it's going to
bridge.
be more out of the wetland. So to me, it's sort of a
restoration.
yeah, exactly. So it's just a matter of which permit do we need. And Suzanne at LRAC didn't want to fund it until we knew what the permit was. So if we get to Great Bay Stewardship first, get the permit in place, then we go back to LRAC and
Okay.
ask for money there.
So are you looking for a vote to support this design? Or?
Yeah, and if you, so this is, so the thing is, yeah, the design is, that Greg came up with, which I thought was very cool. He didn't have to, he just did it. So he's showing these helical piers, which are basically metal screws. You screw them in because it has a much less impact in the wetland. And then because it all has to be elevated, there's a lot of them. But you can put them in by hand, apparently. So, yeah. So it's all pressure treated, and I think he's recommending, it's currently 4 feet, and I think we talked about it making the bridge 5 feet wide. And some of the boardwalk, and then even if we probably have to take up all the boardwalk, reuse it, but we might want to have the bridge and some of the boardwalk 5 feet, and then you basically just do a funnel. We've done that in other boardwalks.
Do we leave gaps?
You have to, so
Like-
DES requires
Right.
a certain width for the, so when turtles and things go under, although it's not very wide, but still. you have
So
to
let's light through.
Let the light through. The light has to go
Fine.
through.
Yeah, I was
So-
just making sure I didn't show him in the
Yeah,
sketch.
no, he knows, yeah, you have to do that.
There is a railing on the high point.
And there's a railing on the high point, yeah. We talked about that, but it's high enough that you need a railing,
I think you need one too.
yeah.
I didn't realize there was a back to it, so I was like, it should be a
Yeah.
railing.
Yeah, so maybe if you agree, again, endorse the design, endorse hiring Mark West to do the preliminary wetlands evaluations, and then endorse applying to both Great Bay Partnership. The thing is, we can actually wait. We could probably wait for the Great Bay Partnership. I mean, there's no super rush. It'd be nice to do it sometime this fall. I don't know quite the grant sequence, but we can get it all ready for LRAC, but apply to the partnership by June 1st, see what they say, and then go to LRAC if we don't get all the funding. Does that make sense?
So you authorize up to what,
Just up, you can authorize up to $520 for Mark West. And endorse the design by Greg DeSanto, which then means we would hire them to do the work.
I move that we approve $540,
20.
and bring on Mark West for the design,
The wetlands.
for the wetland.
Yeah.
So that-
Fine. I'll second. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye? Great. Awesome.
Do we know when Mark would do that?
He's extremely busy, but this would be relatively quick for him to do, so hopefully he can help out.
ideally this time of year, right?
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be done before we apply for the grant. We're saying we're funding this, and,
Yeah.
we can't have everything in order in a month. They can't, like,
If possible, I'd love to go out with them.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen Mark for a while,
Oh, yeah.
so if you could let me know when he's gonna go out, that'd be good.
yeah, it could be last one. Very busy. Yeah, but I think that'd be awesome. I think it'll be really nice to get those two projects in place.
He's
We
good
have a couple
guy.
grant sources, opportunities.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Ash Swamp Road, Turtle Crossing, Aquatic Passage, we did have a meeting out there with Lindsay Butler and Rick Pulaski and Jeff and Bart. And we talked about, as you may recall, we've been put on the grant with Fish and Game. They're applying for a big grant for a bunch of stuff, and Ash Swamp Road is included for a big redesign of culverts and fencing and all that. But that won't come until after this breeding season. So we wanted to meet with them. Is there anything we can do this year? Because sadly, there's already been turtles killed there, including spotted turtles. So they put up a speed sign, one of the, you're driving, your speed thing. And you want to talk more about what maybe some other ideas that you're trying to figure out?
While we were out there, it was kind of thought that there wouldn't be anything done about water levels at the moment. Wouldn't do anything really as far as temporary fencing for a year. We've seen that it would there's not a lot of space and kind of become overgrown mess maybe. It might trap animals within the roadway if it's not done as far as it needs to go. So really, like Helen says, mostly just to try to achieve some traffic calming, slowing. We discussed like ways to discourage speeding or even maybe use. It was settled on that nobody wanted at this time, this early, without the engineers going out taking a look, to do anything except speed control effort. That's my understanding anyway. And then
About some speed bumps.
well, no, I suggested speed bumps or speed tables even to slow people down. The speed table is kind of a no from DPW. Removable speed bumps, that you can.
Yeah.
That seemed to not really be favored very well. There was talk about potential, like the pylons you see in the middle of a road that are screwed down as a possibility. There were. I shouldn't say they were just. These things were just thrown out as not good, not. They're seen as potential safety hazards with the speed that the roads travel. To throw a speed bump in the middle of a road that people go 40 down might be a little dangerous. It's kind of a thought from DPW on that, but.
I like the idea of the pylons. I thought that was
Yeah,
a
the
good idea.
pylons are a good idea, I think too, and possible. Talk about narrowing a little bit. Maybe like the signs downtown that flash. They can set those from motion potentially from coming either direction.
Yeah.
But
Those are apparently ridiculously expensive.
apparently expensive.
Like $8,000 a piece.
Yeah, and then they need power. So, the quickest thing they could do was put out the speed sign.
Yeah, sure. For a moment.
They do.
Yeah.
And as expressed to me as well as by a very long time resident of the road, what is the speed limit anyway? so, and then I saw an article on one of those that was put in Exeter, a similar device, and they actually stuck a speed limit sign right above it. So that might be a good thing to pass along to DPW.
They've got one of those out
Someone
at
has
the end
lived
of
there for
Pond
a
Street
while.
for the elementaries, as you're heading past
don't
the
even know where the
elementary
closest speed sign
into
is.
town toward the high school.
And I drive that
And
road
it-
every day.
It works.
Twice
Yeah,
a
it
day.
works for me. I still do.
I do like the speed limit sign as a good reminder, even if I'm going a little bit over.
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes has barricades with flash cones and battery powered power radio. What about something like that on where there's a tunnel somewhere?
Yeah,
Battery powered.
to alert.
I think the flashing would be good. I think
Yeah, I mean, that's the two spotted turtles that have been hit this year. One was on each direction. So one was, and they were both well away from the hill to the west. so they weren't, like, you had plenty of time to see a large object this big in the road.
I saw it, I was like, I'm gonna get to help one, and then it was like,
Yeah. And so I happened to be working from home last Friday, and I did see that there was a meeting. Lindsay and some folks from the engineering firm were out taking some measurements to talk about some potential striping or warning painted on the ground. I wasn't invited to that one. I let them park in their driveway, so I happened to see them. And stepped out to my dog was barking at them, actually, she saw. So I went out and checked it out. Not sure if they came up with any preliminary ideas or not, but see.
we have volunteer turtle helpers.
That's what I
So,
thought.
yeah, so that was a great idea by Ellen, and I did speak
I would
to.
volunteer time to go hang out.
Yeah, I thought we should just sit
Yeah.
by the side of the road, because otherwise we
Yeah.
get smashed.
Are there times that, like, are known
Cooler, I
for,
guess, yeah.
like, more?
It seems
higher
like
level of
morning
crossing?
to me.
Well, I
Morning.
think it's traffic volume, that's what Lauren said.
Yeah, no,
so-
or animals, you mean.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking when the turtles.
Yeah,
are
yeah,
actually
yeah,
crossing,
so,
yeah.
well,
I almost never see them in the afternoon, like
Yeah.
later in the afternoon,
Uh-huh.
like at 4, 2, 3, 4 in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
I saw a snapper in the afternoon yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been pretty chilly.
But I,
Yeah, I was thinking when it's warm, right?
yeah, well,
Yeah, I know, well,
that's what they were out doing, I think. Yeah, they were out measuring like almost past my property to my neighbor. So that, I think that's what they were looking at. I didn't have time. I was in the middle. I was working actually. And I didn't realize it. There's no houses except mine, and I don't care.
Do you think
So-
it's weekends versus a weekday, or the traffic volume?
Traffic volume on the weekend mornings is extremely low. It gets very busy at like, I don't know, 10, but extremely busy on the weekends.
Sometimes.
And then the commuting
Yeah,
hours,
commuting hours.
it's
Okay.
very busy.
Yeah, I would be happy to monitor.
I would donate an hour or so of my
Yeah.
time, yeah.
All right, well, I
And,
can let
and,
us
and
know.
so I did speak to my wife about letting people park on the side of her driveway and up in our driveway and do that, and she was okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know if the commission supports something there, it's fine by us.
Yeah.
But that was one thing that was also discussed when we walked, was seeing if there was the ability to put a spot where people could pull over, but there's really not a lot of space.
Because people like to stop, but there's no good place to stop. But you said people can stop in your driveway.
Yeah, yeah.
But you
If
get
they're
a
helping a
sign, stop
turtle.
The general
turtles.
public doesn't.
Speeding.
Pull over
Typic-
here to help the
typical.
turtle.
Yeah, and walk back over there.
Because that's what I thought too, and I'm like, well, if I see one, where am I gonna pull over?
People
Yeah.
just stop in the middle of the road.
They just- that's
They
what I
literally
do,
just
is
stop
throw
and
them
get
on
it.
hazard.
It's not
Yeah.
safe there, but
Yeah.
people do it. I cringe when I see folks do it because I'm like, people come over that hill so fast. What's that? Recruit the people.
Put the turtle on top of the
There's none
keyboard.
there now.
You know what, you're suggesting those signs, like slow
So-
children, you know how it says, go slow children or something? you know, like, go
Yeah.
Yeah,
slow
they don't want to
turtles.
put stuff in
Yeah,
the,
actually,
maybe the
they are
indented
turtles.
strips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they're
true.
really
Little
good.
turtle ones.
I don't want to hear that all night.
Date
though.
road.
Yeah,
What's that?
I should do that.
Jeff would hear it all night.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's the only thing about rumble strips, is they're very loud.
What's more important here, your sleep?
Do they have ones that are motion activated rumble strips? Like-
When there's a turtle crossing.
We talked about that actually as a kind of, yeah.
Well, why don't you let us know what you think would be good, and people can see if they want to spend an hour or two. for turtles.
Good idea. Maybe we should, those slow children, they're actually turtles, and there's like a little flag.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Right there. I think that's
Oh, yeah, the
Turtle.
little thing, oh, yeah.
Is there
so
any
you-
other kinds?
Yeah, right.
You
do that.
Yeah, I know.
For the turtles on
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Some people won't, but if we keep, some people going slower, and it's going to save some turtles, so, all right.
So it seems like, there's definitely
More ideas.
movement. I know that the engineer had reached out to our company, see if we wanted to be involved. So things are moving ahead, for sure. I think that's,
I would say there's general support to solve. the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
yeah.
It's great. No, it's really, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff, for relying on those. All right, so let's move
So
on.
actually, what did you want to, so,
Yeah, no, I
we're in
want you to
support with
tell-
it.
Yeah.
So if,
People, well, when do you think people?
so I don't
should-
know how you would,
Structure that.
or how you,
Well,
yeah,
when do
would
you
you
think,
have a
when,
sign
if you,
out?
like, I mean, people want lots of time, like, if somebody wanted to go for an hour, when would you suggest?
if it's on a weekday.
Weekend, whatever. Either
I
one.
mean,
Just both, yeah, weekday or weekend.
Both, some people have more availability.
I think,
So it sounds like 10 a.m.
on the weekends, it gets busy, you know, it's not busy at like 8 in the morning.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It gets busy after like 9, 10 a.m. All, for the rest of the day, more or less.
Yep.
Same on Sundays, unless the commuting hours are the busiest.
So what
As
time
far
during
as
the
the
week, what's the commuting hours, do you think?
It's pretty busy by 7, 6:30.
7 to 9?
Yeah.
And then the afternoon, or not so much, you think?
I'm not there. I'm not usually there until 5:30 or 6, and it's still kind of busy then. So I assume it's from the end of, you know, 3 or 3 to 7 or something like that.
Well, the maximum movement should be in June, that's typically when it is, but they probably, you know, and it's been very cool, so the movement's a little bit slow right now.
Well,
Yeah, we can ask for volunteers.
As long,
The only
like,
thing with that is, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
hate
it's-
for
yeah.
someone to put their, I don't know, put their safety,
Yeah, it might
I'm
be a
also
safety
thinking
issue.
about vests or something. if
that's
they're
what I
gonna
was
be out
thinking too,
there,
yeah.
I think we should
have
probably
my own.
just do it for less for
Yeah,
now, because
yeah.
I worry a little bit about liability. You guys having other people just show up, you don't know.
yeah,
I have a couple.
probably do, but I'm not
We talked about buying, Chris wanted to investigate buying everybody
Yeah.
an orange vest for easement monitoring, all that kind of stuff, so maybe we should look at that.
yeah, I can definitely. I mean, we buy them all. the
Yeah.
Put
time.
that in your binders.
Okay.
The,
So maybe, we could
yeah.
experiment, when we get close to June, people like the weekend, if somebody wanted to do it like 10 to 12 or 10 to 11, and then weekday 7 to 9 and somewhere in that zone.
yeah, that was my concern about putting on Facebook is like, are 30 people going to show up at 8
Yeah,
o'clock
I know.
Saturday
Yeah.
morning?
No, I think you just send,
I think liability is-
yeah. No, I think we zip you an email if we think we're.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's local to the group, that'd be
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Bring your own chair and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Sit down.
No, I think it's worth trying if people.
So maybe not this year, but I would, understanding the turtle behavior patterns. What if the Conservation Commission this year had Turtle Fest? Some,
We should do
some kind
Turtle
of,
Fest.
public engagement
Yeah?
opportunity.
Yeah.
That's a good
To
idea.
bring the community together and, learn about, have fun,
Yeah,
Get
might
fish
be-
and game involved.
yeah.
Yeah,
turtle races.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So just kind of,
Yeah,
educating,
that's a great idea. That'd be
creating
fun.
investment, investing more in the community and the other creatures that, live in the community.
There's so much turtle habitat. It's a cool thing to learn about.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Great
unique
idea. Let's
opportunity
do
in
that,
this
it's
town.
2025.
Right.
God,
Variety.
Turtle
And
Fest
then- and then
2025.
That sounds perfect. I love
And move forward with that project, showcase
We'll make
that
t-shirts.
project.
Wait,
Yeah.
you're the designer.
Take pictures of us sitting in your driveway.
Show support.
I'll bring my binoculars.
I work with.
There's a lot of birds.
All right, it's getting late. Great, awesome stuff. All right, just real quick, land stewardship. Had a great Newmarket Cares Day, 14 students and their teacher, Silas Richards, who's awesome. We were at Heron Point Sanctuary, so they, when you go in, and if you've been there, all the rocks that DPW put in for that drainage, they were full leaves, so they took all, I didn't even think they were gonna do it. They took all the rocks out, took the leaves out, the rocks back, and they even made a little bit better drainage. We did some brushing out of the trail, they washed one of the signs, and then I dragged Paul Marino in to help with the carpentry, fixing some of the, that one that was broken from the tree and some other stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it went really well, just a couple hours out there, so it's great. I don't have any other updates on Heron Point at the moment,
Nothing on discuss.
nothing on Pisgasic at the moment, okay. Yeah, good, we're moving along. So, Backyard Bash, August 2nd, we could start having some materials of that. And Jess, who's our alternate, she's, don't quite know what she does graphic design sorts of things, I think. So remember we talked about making bookmarks? So I asked her, would she be able to do that? And she said, yes.
Yay.
So we're going to chat in a week. She's away, so we're going to chat in a week or two.
Give
And
it to the library.
so the idea was, to maybe have like 4 or 5 bookmarks. Each one would highlight one of our conservation areas. Could highlight a turtle, kind of thing. So anyway, we'll see what she creatively she can do.
Maybe do like things you see at those
Yeah. Something. Yeah. parent, though, yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's under outreach and education, the display table and doing some stuff. So keep that date, August 2nd, 5 to 8 p.m. Got the bookmarks there. I think Chris is still working on those educational videos, which are a subset of our meeting presentations. I'm working on the notebooks. Chris also had an idea about member profiles, so you decide if you want that kind of a thing.
You mean
Yeah.
like on a website?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll let her, yeah, so. I think that's all I had. We got, anything else? Motion to adjourn? Is that right? All in favor?
Early.
Aye?
Good job.
Early. Woo.
This was a good meeting.
Yeah,
A lot of
progress.
stuff.